All right, well, this is this year's tree. It is a noble fir. We got it from the local nursery called TLC at the one up off Memorial, for those of you that are local. And I always get the tree flocked. It helps with needle retention, and I just really like the way that the flocking looks with the vintage ornaments that I put on it. Also, it has a little bit of sparkle, you can see there. So when the sun's shining through the window, it looks really pretty. And it was a little bit taller than we had expected, but honestly, I think it's right about perfect. When the tree topper sits on top, it'll be just a little bit below the height of the ceiling. And we need to move this chair for the holiday season. That's gonna have to be relocated, but I'm getting ready to get some lights put on it. That's my least favorite part of the whole process. And you can see down here, we have a HVAC intake. So we'll just be careful to put the tree skirt around there, try to get as least amount of stuff in that as possible, and then just switch out the filters in December. So we've been out of town for Thanksgiving and Tucker is fit to be tied, so he's glad we're home. But yeah, so let me just get my camera set up and I'll get the lights on. I also had a lot of questions on flocking live trees. There were a lot of people that didn't know that that was a thing, and it absolutely is. You'll just have to do some research in your area for the nurseries or the tree farms that do the flocking of the live trees. It usually takes a couple days. Once you go pick out your tree, it will take a couple days for them to flock it, allow the flocking to dry, and then you can pick it up. So just in case there was some people out there that were wondering about that process, it's a really simple process. You just need to find who flocks trees in your area. Okay, so I have everything stored down in the utility part of our basement. So I'm just going to be getting the lights out today, but I have all of this Christmas stuff. Pretty much everything down here is Christmas, and I have to find the lights. So let the fun begin. Okay, got the three things we needed: the tree topper, which is vintage, the lights, and the tree skirt, which is also vintage. And Tommy is looking for the timer because he puts timers on absolutely everything. So he's gonna get that, and I'm gonna go upstairs and get the lights started. So here is just a little view of the tree skirt. I actually have two of these that are identical. You can see there's some staining there, but again, it's vintage, and I have another one that just has a small cut in the middle that isn't slit all the way back. We used to have two different trees, so I just happened to find two of the exact same vintage tree skirts. But for this tree, we have to have one, obviously, that is slit. So I'm gonna get that put on, and then here is a look at the tree topper. A lot of people mentioned that they wanted to see the specifics of the ornament, the tree toppers, the skirt, and everything that we put on the tree. So this is an old vintage Noma tree bow. And then the lights are clear. I get them clear because we get the tree flocked and you can't even see them once they're turned on and lit up. Okay, so I'm just short on the lights, which is a bummer. You can see down here, I'm just short. I've got to do some things with those cords over there here before too long, but I just ordered one more string of lights. I don't want to go back and try to stretch out the lights and make it work because I really like how these look. And so I'm just gonna wait for the new lights to get here, which should be at the end of this week. And then I'll get the rest of the lights put on, and then we'll get the tree topper on and the Christmas ornaments put on as well. Here's what the tree topper looks like out of the box. It's just a very simple red bow, which I like. I've had this for years. It does have a standard plug-in, which does not plug into our lights. They have a different adapter on the ends of them, so we will be putting a small extension cord in the back to get this lit up. Okay, so this is the gist of it. Tommy is going to have to come in here and get this attached to the very top. I'm just too short. It's so hard to beat the smell and the look of a real tree. I don't really like the expense of buying a real tree every year, but they certainly smell good and are very, very pretty. Hey y'all, so this is part 2 of the Christmas tree. We got the lights on and I decided that I needed more lights. So I had to wait until I received the lights from Amazon to continue. I got those put on yesterday. And so I'm getting all of the vintage Christmas stuff out of the basement right now. And I'm gonna get all the ornaments put on the tree. I still need to go to Lowe's and get some Garland. So maybe I'll do that today once I'm done. It does take me quite a while to put the garland and all the ornaments on the tree. So let me just turn around. I'll show some of the vintage Christmas stuff that I have. And as I'm unboxing it upstairs, I'll show you that as well. But just to give you an idea, I've been collecting vintage Christmas for a long time. Probably right when I got out of college, my mom gave me a box of just vintage Shiny Brights, just plain single color. No pattern on them, nothing. And I thought that they were really pretty. And then I just started collecting vintage Christmas stuff. And it's getting so much harder to find nowadays, which is pretty disappointing. But I have a decent collection. And I actually am super proud of myself. I did not buy one vintage Christmas item this entire year. So that's saying something for me. Although there are many pieces that I wanted, I really kind of need to slim down my collection. Like I have I think it's a 5 or 6 foot aluminum tree that I need to sell because I haven't put it up in years. And so, you know, it's just, I try to get rid of something when I get something new now because I have enough to decorate the tree, the mantle, some extra tables here and there. So let me just turn around and I will show you just a quick overview of the vintage Christmas that I just got unpacked out of the basement. Okay, well, I guess we can just start right here. This is a vintage wreath that I've had for a number of years. I really like the blue and the pink on it. And I have just kind of a hodgepodge over here. So these are bases that Tommy built me for vintage glass tree toppers. You can see some reindeer, a bottle brush tree down there, blow molds. I collect a lot of things like this if they're kind of weird and funky. I collect them. I collect a lot of advertising pieces too, Christmas advertising. So what I'll do with something like this is just pile ornaments in there and set it out on a table. Some more blow molds, an old marshmallow tin. I like to collect things to set Christmas items on like this. It's not vintage, but it's the perfect pedestal to set like a bottle brush tree or something on. This is one of the things that I really like. It's one of my more, I guess, prized vintage Christmas collections. So if you know much about vintage Christmas, these small miniature bottle brush trees are hard to find, and they are very expensive when you do find them. Like, you'll see them on eBay for $100 and up on just one tree. And these are, gosh, 2 inches tall, maybe a little bit higher than that. But I found these at a vintage store one time for a really good price, so I snagged those. I display a lot of things in their boxes. I really like the vintage boxes, and so I'll flip that around and I'll leave those in their container and just display them on the mantle or something like that. It's a huge bonus for me when vintage ornaments have their boxes. Like I said, I will display a lot of the ornaments just in their boxes. I never take them out. A lot of made in Japan items, even my hangers. I have vintage hangers and I like the boxes, so I collect them. Putz houses that I will put on the mantle with Garland that has a hole for the light that goes in them. I haven't got the Garland yet. I need to go to Lowe's. Maybe when I get the ornaments put on the tree today, I will go to Lowe's after that and pick up some Garland. I do like real Garland. I just like the way it smells. It's really kind of a pain because it gets super dry and sheds all over the place. But something else I collect a lot of are bottle brush trees. Those are also getting way harder to find. Some vintage honeycomb Garland. Again, boxes, empty boxes, vintage Christmas items still on the original cards, in the original packaging. For 89 cents. Someone got these at some point. Just vintage foil add-ons. Yeah, just pretty much anything that's in its original packaging I do like. I actually bought this on eBay to do myself, and as you can see, I have not done that. These are just some vintage needle points. These are stockings that were made by my mother-in-law. More small vintage tree skirts, vintage needle point, more vintage stockings. So you get the gist of it. I will, if anything is neat, I guess I could show you this too. So many of you know that I like Native American things, and so I collect actually Native American ornaments as well. So these are really old, and if I could find more like these, I would get them. So when I bought them on eBay, they didn't have toppers, and you can see right there, if I get it to focus, that it is broken. And so I put these newer tops on there. So that's why those are on there, but those are really old. Some of these aren't old, like this is really old. But these aren't necessarily old, but it's still what I look for. Here's some more, again, some old, some not, but. And then, so these in here are basically all of my specialty ornaments. I keep these very organized. These don't have boxes. So like here, these are all, well, besides this one random one, I'm not sure why that's in there, but these are mostly fruits and pine cones. And basically these are all organized to the type of ornament that they are. And I got these boxes at Target. They're really nifty. They're ornament boxes, and they're 2 levels that actually come apart. So I find these very helpful when I'm packing up the ornaments that I absolutely do not want to get broke because they're hard plastic. But anyways, I'm gonna get this stuff upstairs, and as I start getting all of the ornaments out and getting them on the tree, I will record that. And I need to find some of the tree toppers that I'm looking for. I don't know where those are. They might be in here. Yeah. So anyways, I'm just gonna first get all this stuff upstairs and then get the tree decorated. So before I get started putting the ornaments on, I wanted to give you a close-up of the tree with the lights on it. Ignore all those cords over there. I'm going to run an extension cord, 1 single cord, back to behind the tree so that those are much less noticeable. So I always start with the mercury glass garland that I have. You can see here just a few examples. Same here. So I'm going to start with the garland first, and then I will go in with the rest of the ornaments. So I know it was a little bit hard to see the garland from the sped up video, but here is what it looks like. I still have a lot more garland that I could put on here, but I don't know if I want to use it all. I might get some of the ornaments on and then see what it looks like. Okay, finally excited to share the final Christmas decor. It's been a little bit of a busy season, and so I'm just now getting around to filming this, but I think you will like it nonetheless. So let me flip my camera around. I'll show you all my vintage. I'll point out some specific things, and forgive me if I've repeated myself. I filmed this video on a number of different days, and so I can't really remember what I said, and we are getting ready to have family come in today. They should actually be here in about 30 minutes or so. So gonna get this video filmed really quick while all the presents are still under the tree because they will be unwrapped tonight. and I will show you some of my favorite things. So let's just start with the tree. The tree is a real noble fir, and it's flocked. The flocking has some glitter in it as well, some clear glitter. All of the presents are under the tree. It's a gold theme this year. Let me show you this because I think it's really, really cute. I love this wrapping paper. I got it from Target years ago. And I still had like 2 or 3 rolls because I bought all the rolls they had when I found it. Anyways, I just think it's really cute. So a combination of that, wrapping paper, the sparkly gold, and just a flat gold. So some of these Christmas ornaments are antique, really, really old, super fragile. Most of these ornaments are vintage, but I do have some antique ones in there, all made of mercury glass. That one's not old, but I liked the Indian. And I think I said this in a different section of this video, but these are really old. They're old Czech ornaments, as in Czechoslovakia. And they used to have a different topper on them, but over the years, the glass that extended up broke a little bit. So I needed to find a wider piece to put on top. So that is why the top looks new, but those are very vintage. And the tree has started to droop a little bit since we've had it for close to 3 weeks now. But I like it when it droops a little bit. I think it gives it a little bit of character. It looks like a real tree covered with heavy snow. I didn't put near as much garland on this year as I typically do. I thought that I would just load it with ornaments and go minimal on the garland. The garland is also vintage, and I do have some antique garland. Just loaded with ornaments. If there is a spot for an ornament, there is an ornament in that place. I just packed it as full as I could get it. And honestly, this isn't all my ornaments. I really need to start getting rid of some things. I need to really just keep what ornaments are really special to me and the ones that I really like, and start selling some of the other ones. So that is the tree. It's about 8 foot. And then here is the section over here. I really like needlepoint stockings. These are vintage. Some old kit stockings here. I actually have another one of those because I found 2 at one time. You'll see that here in a minute. These are not vintage. These are just old Target candlestick holders that I got years ago, and I always just pop some ornaments on them. This tree, this gold tree, is not old. I also got this from Target years ago because I wanted a pine cone tree. The vintage, or the ornaments are vintage, but the tree is not. I have a lot of made in Japan items. Some vintage blow molds back there. I don't really know what this is, but it is old, and I found it at an antique store one day and I liked it, so I collect a lot of vintage advertising as well. So you'll see some of that in this video, and I think that was probably some sort of advertisement or some kid's kit or something like that. A box of Shiny Brights that I think are pretty together. All of the colors are pretty together. And this is a vintage bottle brush tree that I bought on eBay, and it was missing a lot of the ornaments like this on the end, and it was missing the base as well. So I just put the base in this old candle and added some of the small ornaments back on that were missing, and that's one of my favorite bottle brush trees. And here are the putz houses. These are all vintage. And I just thread some lights through this garland, and then these little houses have holes in the back where lights go into them. You can see that some of the paper and things like that are a little bit damaged, but these are really old, and I think it gives them a little bit of character. These are just light reflectors. They're vintage also. Those are stockings, Tommy and I's stockings that my mother-in-law made for us years ago. I wanted some handmade stockings, and so those are just some kit stockings, and I really like those. We are going to get our TV mounted sooner than later, but that is a brick fireplace behind that, so we've got to figure out exactly how that will work, or even if it will work. So there are the putz houses, and then let's go over here. I kept most of the displays in the living room this year. I like to kind of have all my Christmas stuff confined to one room and not just scattered throughout the house. Just a personal preference. So here's some vintage advertising that I mentioned. That's a Firestone advertisement. Some more bottle brush trees. I collect vintage ornament boxes. These are really small, so I think the small ones are fun, and the small ones are really pretty hard to find. Again, just a box that I liked the images on. And another needlepoint stocking. And here's this section over here. I was really hoping that we were going to get the living room painted prior to getting all of the Christmas stuff up. That is still on the list. It just hasn't happened quite yet. Again, another vintage felt sewing kit piece. And I have a lot of bottle brush trees, so I particularly like this style of bottle brush tree. It's a vintage Shiny Bright. Shiny Bright is just a brand for those of you that may not know. Sorry if you hear that noise in the background. That's our diffuser going off. But I really love those trees. Some vintage mercury glass bells, another vintage blow mold. I really love this piece here too. So this is a pretty rare thing to find. The little trees are hard to find, and little trees as a whole collection are really hard to find. So I really love those. Little Santa here. More of the same bottle brush trees that you just saw. Some more vintage boxes. Some vintage bells. And more bottle brush trees. So I've mentioned already in this video, I think, that I really like things that are in their original packaging. And like I mentioned to you earlier, this is a shiny, bright tree, as are most of the other ones that I just showed you. So the original packaging just adds a little bit extra for me, and I like to display things in their original packaging. I think it's really cool. And one last thing that I'll show you over here. So here is some vintage garland that I have strewn throughout there. And then these are vintage tree toppers. So they're glass. They're very fragile. Tommy built these bases for me a couple of years ago for these, and honestly, I do need to paint those bases. I'll probably spray paint them before I put them up this year. I was planning on doing it last year, but many of you know that we put our house for sale around this time last year. Actually, I had ordered the tree 2 days before we decided to put our house on the market. So we had a very minimal Christmas stuff up last year because we were showing our house and things like that. So I didn't get around to spray painting those bases, but I'm gonna do that this year. This, again, vintage tree topper, all real mercury glass. And I have some vintage plastic tree toppers just kind of thrown in there. Vintage Christmas booklet there in the back. Oh, and actually one more thing. Let me show you the vintage wreath over here. I always think that this wreath is fun. I bought this pre-made years ago, but I really like the blue and the red and the pink all together. While I bought it pre-made, all the ornaments are vintage, as are some of the pieces that are included in there. Like the Santa is a little bit vintage too, as is the reindeer. Mr. and Mrs. Claus up there, but that is the last thing that I have to show you. I hope that you guys enjoyed this Christmas tour. I honestly have felt a little bit rushed kind of getting this stuff up with the renovations and things like that going on, but I think it turned out pretty good, and I hope that you and your family have a very Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, and we'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.